You're listening to 92.1 West Coast Radio 2, the Gambia's news authority.
31 minutes past 8 o'clock in the morning here in the Gambia. Today is World Population Day. This year's observation focuses on a critical issue, ensuring that everyone is counted in official data. This might seem like a technicality, but for marginalized communities, the lack of data has real-world consequences. By happy coincidence, the Gambia has just completed its latest population tally. Every 10 years, a complete count or census is taken of every person living in this country. It's a practice that's been maintained since the first count in 1963. At the last count in 2013, the population of the Gambia stood at 1.8 million. Now, even before the just concluded census, all estimates on the Gambia's population have put the figure at well over 2 million, 2.5 to 3 million. Are we that many? Are we more? And what would a population growth in excess of 50% mean for our development aspirations as a nation? Well, joining me now to look at these and other population questions are the Statistician General at the Gambia's Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Nyakasi Sanyang. Hello and welcome to Coffee Time.
Thank you.
And the country representative for the UN Population Agency, UNFPA, Mrs. Ndei Rose Sar. Welcome to Coffee Time.
Good morning, Peter.
Thank you very much. And Deputy Director, National Population Secretariat, Mr. Babukar Jatta. Didn't write his name down, Babukar, and he was the first to be here. Babukar, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter. Thank you for having me.
Ladies first. What are we actually celebrating today?
Good morning, Peter, once again.
Good morning, Day.
World Population Day is celebrated each year on July 11th, and so it's today, to raise awareness on global population issues. The event was established by the Governing Council of United Nations Development Program in 1989, and since then we are celebrating it every year. World Population Day aims to increase people's awareness on various population issues such as the importance of family planning, gender equality and women's empowerment, poverty, maternal health, and human rights. It is a reminder to attain the goal of the Sustainable Development Goals, which we all know are for 2030. So on the day of World Population Day, UNFPA and the UN in general want us to imagine a world where 8 billion of us, because that's where we are today, have a future bursting with promise and potential. The theme of this year, as you just mentioned before, is embracing the power of inclusive data towards a resilient and equitable future for all.
Fantastic. How important is population data to the country's development?
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomez. As the theme implies, inclusive data means data for that is collected for all, that is regardless of age, location, gender, ethnicity, and it is meant to close the gaps that inadvertently facilitate discrimination or bias in monitoring, evaluation, and decision making. The importance of data cannot be overemphasized. Without data, it's like we are moving in darkness, because you have to know where you are. Then you should be able to target where you want to be at some point. It's only data that can help you do that. So it is very important. But the emphasis here, which is inclusive data, is very important, because we have to get information in all aspects of the population. Otherwise, as we move along, others will be left behind. So the theme for this year is very fitting and timely, if not late, to address population-related issues.
If data is that important, why do we wait for every 10 years to count the population? Why couldn't it be done every year?
No, actually,
every other year, maybe.
Okay, conducting population housing census requires a lot of resources, both material, financial, and human. We spent almost over $500 million in conducting the population housing census this year, because it's also a digital census, and this requires a lot of equipment, a lot of electronic gadgets being used. And in fact, we saved over $100 million by getting these tablets from our brothers.
You saved?
Yes, because we are supposed to buy these gadgets, and it will cost us over $100 million, but instead we spend less than 2,000 euros to get this transported from Senegal to the Gambia. Like I said, it wouldn't be easy to conduct population housing census in more than or less than 10 years. It would be better, of course, to have it conducted every 5 years, especially with the use of technology now, because those days, if you conduct a population housing census, it takes you maybe more than 3 years before you get the results, which means that the results are almost obsolete by the time you start using them. But now, within a few months, maximum 3 months, you are able to produce the results. So, which means that if resources are available, of course, we should be able to conduct the population housing census every 3 years. But like I said, it requires a lot of financing.
Okay. We are all dying to know what the new figure for the Gambia's population is. But let's bring in Jatta. Jatta, how has the Gambia's population impacted on its development aspirations?
Thank you so much. So the Gambia's population it's both an opportunity and it can also be a threat depending on how we use it as a nation. For me personally, I don't see population numbers as an issue. It depends on how best we make the best use of these numbers. If you look at the current population of the Gambia, demographers will tell you that our demographic dividend window has opened.
Officially, where do you, I just spoke up, 2013, officially we were 1.8.
Yes.
But nobody has used that 1.8 in the past 3 to 5 years. People have always spoken about 2.5, even some people outrageously say we are 3 million and more. So what figure has the government been working with?
As per 2020 estimates, the projections were we were somewhere around 2.4 million.
Wow.
Yes, and if you look at this 2.4 million, we have a huge youth bulk where almost 60% or more are within the youth age bracket. That leads many demographers to say that the demographic dividend window has opened for the Gambia. When we talk about the demographic dividend window, this is a situation where we have more people in the working age bracket compared to the non-working age bracket. So as a nation where we are now, when you look at our demographic, you realize that there are more people in the working age bracket as compared to the non-working age bracket. That creates what? An opportunity for growth and employment. But this growth and employment growth is something that does not come automatic. It requires strategic investment in key areas, especially identified by the African Union in the African Union roadmap for harnessing the demographic dividend. And some of these pillars are in education, health, good governance, employment, and entrepreneurship. So if you look at our population, there is a lot of opportunity for growth and development, but it depends on the right investments that we make into this, especially the youthful population, to stimulate economic growth and development.
And how has government harnessed this potential?
Thank you so much. So at the level of the National Population Commission Secretariat, we recently updated the Gambia's demographic dividend profile, which is a document to show that whether the demographic dividend window has opened for the Gambia or not. And usually in determining whether the window has opened, there are two different methodologies used. One famous methodology that is often used, especially by demographers like us, is looking at the age bracket, comparing the number of people within the working age bracket vis-a-vis the non-working age bracket. If the working age bracket outweighs the non-working age bracket, we assume that the window has opened. But recently, with the support of UNFPA and SWED, the SWED project, the World Bank.
What's SWED?
The Sahelian Women Empowerment and Demographic Dividend Project. We were able to use another tool to still determine whether the window has opened. And we use what we call the NTA methodology. The NTA methodology does not only look at the age bracket, but it looks at the number of effective producers compared to effective consumers. And what the statistics show us was that the Gambia's window of demographic dividend opened in 2000. That means that we have more people producing compared to those that are dependent.
Oh.
And it shows that, the projection shows that there is a greater potential for growth. As we move on, more people will be entering into the production age bracket. And it's projected to reach its peak somewhere around 2035 and will close by 2050. When it closes, what does it mean? It means that we will now have the opposite, a situation like where most of Europe and the Americas are now facing. We have more older people in our population than the working age bracket. So that is why at the level of government, especially at the National Population Commission Secretariat, what we did was to did this study, and the study showed us that the window has opened. And we are on the process of developing a national demographic dividend roadmap with the support of UNFPA and other UN agencies to make sure that government takes advantage of this demographic dividend before it closes, because the cost of inaction can be very, very expensive. I was telling to some of my colleagues that if you look at the Europes and other parts of the world, despite that they having an older population, but they have resources that can attract people to go there. If we don't do anything up to when the window closes, the cost of inaction will be very, very severe on us, because we don't have the required resources needed to attract people to come into the Gambia and work for us. It's just going to create a whole lot of mess. So that is why at the level of government, even if in the new National Development Plan, there is a whole priority on demographic dividend and taking advantage of this window before it closes. In addition to that, with the support of the UN partners and the World Bank, we also develop monitoring tools to see how are we progressing as a country. What are some of the specific steps that we are taking? The steps that we are taking, are they really productive to help us know where we are? And you know, the demographic dividend monitoring tools called the DDMI will be launched very, very soon. And it also shows us the regional dimensions by LGA, how each LGA is doing to take advantage of this demographic
LGA,
dividend.
Local Government Authority.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, very comprehensive document that shows us where we are, what are we doing, where do we need to invest if we want to take advantage of this demographic dividend. And we went nationwide and validated the reports. And interestingly, all the regions we went to highlighted that the document is a true reflection of their LGAs. Fantastic. And even when we had the national validation, we had a similar sentiment that was shared by all the participants that came in.
Apparently, there's a lot of work that is done by the National Population Commission Secretariat that people don't get to know about. So this is an opportunity really to share a lot of what you do. Babukar Andeiros referenced the UNFPA a lot during his presentation. What actually does the UNFPA do with the Gambia government in terms of its population? Grow the population or, regulate the population?
No, we are not regulating population. That's an old term that no one uses anymore. So basically, the United Nations Population Fund is the reproductive health agency of the UN. And so we work with the government on multiple issues, including population issues. But the angle is really making sure that they adhere to the commitment they made during the International Conference on Population and Development. And it happens that this year is the 30th anniversary of the ICPD. And in that document, the platform for action was really about making sure that we have healthy people, that population growth doesn't scare people. As he mentioned, what is important is to making sure that your population are active, that there is no burden on some of them compared to others. But what it means is also that we have to continue looking at maternal health, making sure that no one dies giving birth, that the data is available to make decisions both at the policy level but also at the assembly level when they need to adopt budget. But it also talk about anything that is about youth empowerment. The demographic dividend is nothing more than making sure that young people are educated, that they go to school, that they reach their full potential. And when a nation does that, it develops itself, and it goes from a low middle income to a high middle income, as Babakar mentioned.
And of course, we also spoke about gender equality and women's rights. I won't drag you into the FGM debate, but generally, how do you see the Gambia's commitment to the development of women?
Actually, in the Green Recovery Growth National Development Plan, it's very clear that the government is very committed to gender equality and women's empowerment. And you hear it every day from the president to the different ministries we work with. So we have no doubt. And the Gambia, as you know, has really ratified all the international conventions, including the African Union ones, on protecting women and girls. The investment in health for women and girls, for example, on limiting maternal deaths is there. We went from 433 in 2013. I'm looking at the Secretary General to the Statistician General rather. Today we are at 289 deaths per 100,000 live births. So the number is still very high, because the international agreed number would be that a country is doing well when we have less than 70 deaths per 100,000 live births. Wow. So if we do the math, I'm not a statistician, but if you say that we are 2.4 million, and out of 100,000 births we are still losing 289 women, I think we have work to do. The good news is that 85% of women today in the Gambia have access to a skilled birth attendant, which means that people are giving birth in health centers and are taken care of by midwives and doctors, which is a very good news. More work needs to be done. So on World Population Day, as the Statistician General mentioned, we really are encouraging everyone to work towards empowering women, looking at their well-being, looking at what people are doing across the world. So it's not a Western agenda, it's not an international agenda, it's everybody's agenda to reach the SDGs, and Gambia is one of them.
Do you raise that because people feel that the UNFPA is propagating a Western agenda, Western thinking in the African countries where it operates?
So UNFPA and the whole UN system is actually working with government. As you know, we are a multilateral organization. So we work for member states. And in the Gambia and across the world, what we do is that we look at your national development plan and aspirations, and based on that, we develop what we call our cooperation framework. So it's negotiated, it's looked at by a government before it's signed. It's signed at the highest level of the government. So we are not bringing anything in. We are supporting what the government is clearly telling us to do. And of course, as I mentioned before, the Gambia is part of the Court of Nations, the United Nations and others. In fact, today, the Gambia for the past 2 years is sitting at the Human Rights Council in Geneva. What it means is that the Gambia had shown the world that they care about human rights, and otherwise they wouldn't be sitting there. And we all know that the Gambia is, for example, defending both Palestine and the Rohingyas. So why would the Gambia defend the human rights of others and not defend the rights of its women and girls? So we have no doubts for the United Nations and for UNFPA. We work hand in hand with the government, and we are looking at the National Development Plan. That is our roadmap and our cooperation framework with the government.
Fantastic. Mr. Sanyang, I think the housing and population census was completed. I mean, the enumeration was completed, 1 or 2 weeks ago. We are still waiting to hear what the final figure is. Is that something you can divulge this morning?
So thank you very much, Mr. Gomez. It will be too early for me to release the figures. Actually, this is because we are still on the mop-up exercise.
Okay.
We have some people a little bit difficult to access. We are following them. We've given ourselves up till tomorrow to end that exercise. Well, that wouldn't make much difference if it is just left with those people. But we also have some technical issues that we have observed, and we are trying to resolve those issues. That is, there are data that are not syncing to the server, so we have to manually do that by ensuring that we get the tablets in the office, get the data copied, and get it as part of the integrated data. Then we'll be able to inform the people what the population of the Gambia is.
But
as it stands now, it's about 2.6 million.
Only that?
Yes.
Because if we were already...
but like I said, there are still data that has not been synced, so this could be a little bit higher, which may take us to where I don't know. But this way I don't even want to mention about it. But before there, I think you just asked a few questions. One, with what you have just asked, Madam Rose, the last question. Frankly speaking, from this exercise, we realized that there are people who think that UNFPA and other development partners impose certain things on us. We had somebody who is, I wouldn't want to mention, but is a Gambian, but then has another nationality who said was not going to respond and to our questions because we are being used by UNFPA, by World Bank and other international agencies to get information for them. So this is some of the things, this is how some people are thinking. But like she said, we want to ensure that, or to inform the public that these are programs that emanate from the government, not imposed by the UNFPA or other development partners. The other question that I think I still need to clarify is why don't we conduct the census more frequently than one of the reasons is that we also conduct large-scale surveys, and we also have techniques to project, to make estimates of the population. So these large-scale surveys, together with the projections, always give us an idea of what is happening in the country. So considering the amounts involved in conducting the census, it may not be necessary, definitely, to conduct the census every 3 years or every 5 years. Yeah.
You know, when you said you were around, 2.6, and I expressed surprise, is that understandable given the rate of, emigration, the movement of young Gambians out of this country? Because when we talk about population housing census, we are only counting those Gambians and other nationalities that are in country.
Yeah, I think this can be attributed to a number of factors, including what you have said. We all observed that there was a lot of immigration, and especially the group that is very active in production.
The one that Babukar is counting on.
Exactly. So a lot of them have moved out of the country, and this may affect. But also the fertility rate, according to the last DHS, has come down from 5.6 to 4.4.
Seriously?
Yes, and in fact, I think the census is showing some. I wouldn't want to preempt, but it seems it's a little bit gone down again. So these may be contributing factors. Our women are not ready to produce as they were producing.
Or maybe the men are not ready to produce as they used to produce. I mean, you can't just blame the women.
Maybe a lot of factors may also have contributed to that. Our women are now more educated. They spend more time in education. They are also aware that there also space in their butts. So this could be all contributing factors. And in terms of health, they are mindful.
True.
All this could be contributing factors.
Any other surprises? Are men now more than women for the first time in the history of this country?
No. Still women are more than women.
Still, indeed. How is the day going to be celebrated? Celebration does not just stop with one 30-minute interview on the radio. And Rose?
Yes, so after we end this conversation with you, we will go to the International Conference Center to talk about the importance of these data issues that we just mentioned. But we are also taking the opportunity to launch the State of the World Population which is also another flagship report that UNFPA produces every year to tell the world what are the issues, and definitely leaving no one behind and making sure everyone is counted is one of them. So we will talk about that. And as I mentioned before, the ICPD, the International Conference on Population and Development, which happened in Cairo in 1994, is turning 30. And there were commitments, so we will also make sure that we launch the message again that, as the Statistician General mentioned, we still have work to do. Women are still dying giving birth. Gender-based violence is still around. FGM is still around, and many other issues. So we will not shy away from continuing to work with the government and different partners to ensure that population issues are at the heart and of everything we do.
Babukar, the State of the World Population Report was launched globally since April. Why is it important to have a national launch?
Thank you so much. Before delving into that question, I want to add on to the celebration mode that you just asked the country rep. In the Gambia, the celebration started since yesterday. The Vice President, who is also the chair of the National Population Commission, read a national statement on the theme of inclusive data, which was aired on GRTS yesterday. And today, like he said, what we are doing here is all part of the celebration, the media outreach, and there were some media outreach yesterday too with, I think, GRTS, the Gambia Today, and from here we'll be moving to the OIC, but before that we'll have a march past with the police band from Tropics to the OIC, after which, there is a lot of dignitaries that have been invited. The Vice President was supposed to be there to launch the State of the World Population Report. However, today it's cabinet meeting, so he has delegated the Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service to deliver his opening remark and also launch the State of the World Population Report for him. We also have a lot of dignitaries from the UN system, other UN agencies, including the UN, is it CRO? The resident coordinator will also be there, and a whole lot of dignitaries. We have members of the diplomatic and consular corps, among a whole lot of dignitaries will be there to actually grace the occasion. So, like you said, the State of the World Population Report is an annual publication by the United Nations Population Fund that provides insight into global population trends, challenges, and opportunities. It aims to inform policymakers, researchers, and the public about population dynamics and their implication. So each year, the State of the World Population Report focuses on a specific theme relevant to global population dynamics and development challenges. The themes are chosen based on current global trends, emerging issues, and policy priorities identified by UNFPA and partners. The report combines data analysis, case studies, and policy recommendations to provide comprehensive assessment of global population issues. It draws on data from various sources, including national censuses, surveys, and demographic studies. So the theme for this year's State of the World Population Report is Interwoven Lives, Threads of Hope, Ending Inequalities in Sexual and Reproductive Health. It celebrates 30 years of progress since the ICPD was launched in sexual and reproductive health and rights. It emphasized the need to address inequalities in sexual and reproductive health and rights globally. It aligned closely with the World Population Day's theme by emphasizing the importance of inclusive data in identifying and addressing disparities in sexual and reproductive health. So within the case of the Gambia, if you look at the State of the World Population Report, it highlights a lot of progress that we've done from 1994 to date, especially as far as sexual and reproductive health is concerned. There are more people being reached out to as far as sexual and reproductive health are concerned. The country rep have just said the number of skilled births have attendance have increased, and a whole lot of progress have been made globally and within the context of the Gambia. But we still have a lot of challenges.
Absolutely.
The State of the World Population Report highlight that marginalized communities have been largely excluded from this progress. Inequalities in healthcare access, both within countries and between countries. And even if you look at it within the context of the Gambia, these are realities. You realize that there is still people in hard-to-reach areas are still, there's a lot of people in hard-to-reach areas that are still struggling to get access to basic sexual and reproductive health facilities. And what the day is calling us to do is challenging us all as government and UN partners to make sure that we leave no one behind as far as sexual and reproductive health is concerned, by reaching out to the marginalized people in hard-to-reach areas, to make sure that they also have the same rights and privileges that we, especially in the Greater Banjul area, are enjoying.
Absolutely.
If you look at it, you can see disparities in terms of access to sexual and reproductive health between the Greater Banjul area and the other parts of the country.
Absolutely. All right. Those are inequalities that need to be sorted out. Babukar, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we do not have the time to let you go through everything you wanted to say. And Rose, how would you like to part with the audience by way of message, maybe?
Well, just to reiterate once again that the UNFPA and the whole UN system is in the Gambia to support the government. That today, more than any other day, because it's World Population Day, that we tell the world that we care about people and the population of the Gambia, and we are very happy to be a solid partner to the government in their aspiration to reach the demographic dividend.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Sanyang.
Thank you, Mr. Games. I just want to emphasize the importance of data and call on everyone to invest in data. Studies have shown that every dollar spent in data or invested in data yields economic benefits of more than $32. So it was invest.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I was talking to Mr. Nyakasi Sanyang, Statistician General, Gambia Bureau of Statistics, or GBOS, Mrs. Ndeirose Sarr, UNFPA Country Representative, and Babukar Jatta, Deputy Director, National Population Commission Secretariat. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Coffee Time. We are back tomorrow with another special with Dr. Aissatou Toure of Gamco Trap. And wherever Dr. Aissatou Toure is present, there can only be one topic, and it's FGM. We'll talk about that tomorrow. See you.